I don't know if you saw this morning, but apparently Mitch McConnell has acknowledged that there is likely to be a vote and enough votes to have the Senate block the declaration of a national emergency. And so I'm curious from your point of view, based again on what you know historically about Donald Trump, how do you think he'll react to not just the Democrats, but in this case, some Republicans as well, working to hamstring him a little bit in this particular regard?
Well, you're finally beginning to see some of the Republicans who have principles about what the power of the executive is, and the executive's authority is basically to do whatever Congress has told him to do, separating themselves. And for sure, he will lose this vote in the Senate, but he will veto it. He will denounce the Republicans who voted against him as traitors. He will threaten to raise money to go after them, which is an extraordinary thing for a president of any party to do about members of his own party. And the thing to see will be, are there 67 votes in the Senate to override a veto of this? If the Republicans have any principles at all, they should, because this is not a national emergency. Everything points against it, including Trump's own words.
You know, it's interesting because I too have been looking to see, will we start to see a few elected Republican rats start to flee the ship at some point? But I'm also curious about his base on the one hand. Does that start to slip a little bit? And then his the media arm in Fox News. And I just saw yesterday, I think it was New York Magazine, showed that he maintains. What's that?
The New Yorker.
The New Yorker, yes, sorry. His loyalty ratings for different hosts, Steve Doocy is still a 12 out of 10, which is pretty amazing. Do you think that we might start to see a little bit of question? Because as of right now, Sean Hannity and all of them still seem they're locked in for Donald Trump.
Well, at the end of the day, Rupert Murdoch is a commercial animal. And if at some point he concludes that the enormous profits that are being turned out by Fox, because looked at as a business, not journalism, it's a really well-run, smart business. If he begins to see that his profits are endangered, then he will issue directives to change the stories, just as he, according to Jane Meyer's story in the New Yorker, killed the story they had about paying off Stormy Daniels. The reporter being told, Rupert wants Donald to win, so sorry, good try, but we're not going to run that story. Among his base, Michael Cohen's testimony on its own is not going to change anything, but we're about to see political drip torture, witness after document. And if the Democrats don't overplay their hand, they focus on what's significant, and they learn not to preen when they ask questions, and they follow the model of Ocasio-Cortez, Katie Hill from Southern California, Gomez, and a few others, and ask meaningful questions, what are called soup questions in the movie Finding Forrester. You will begin to see some Republicans slip away. Keep this in mind. On the day that Richard Nixon resigned, and every single member of the House and Senate was against him, 29% of the American public was still with Richard Nixon.
Wow. I just have one more question based on what you said there. First of all, I totally agree. I would be totally fine with no more preening. We could get through these hearings much faster as well. And hopefully some people will take inspiration from what they saw out of some of the questioners that you mentioned. In terms of not overplaying their hand and focusing on what's important, though, I am curious, do you think that they should be focusing on tax evasion? Should they keep up the line on the hush money payments? House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy said, I think yesterday, that if he paid off these women, that's not an impeachable offense, so who cares, I guess. What do you think they should focus on?
Well, much as tax is my issue, and I would like to see much more done on tax, it doesn't appear to resonate particularly with the public. I think the important thing to do is to get the public to understand that the Trump Organization is a criminal enterprise. It's always been a criminal enterprise. And showing that at every turn when there was something to do, they were dishonest, they cheated people, they cheated workers, took goods and refused to pay for them, had all sorts of unsavory connections. I think that's the most important line to pursue. The second one is what appears to be the sale of American secrets by Jared Kushner for immediate political gain and future economic gain. That's a crime for which he could spend the rest of his life in solitary confinement based on some other cases that we've had.
That's true.
And I think this is critically important. He has no business having a national security clearance. We know that Trump and Ivanka, his daughter, both lied that Trump had nothing to do with this. when in fact Chief of Staff John Kelly and the former White House counsel Don McGahn were so worried they might be prosecuted in the future that they wrote memos to the file saying, we did this under orders from the president.
And that was an amazing revelation that they felt that they should do that. Well, David K. Johnson, it's always a pleasure having you on. Thank you for joining us on the show.
John, glad to be here.
Thank you very much for watching this clip from the Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.